Coming up on Market to Market, the EU and U.S. agree to a framework as policy details emerge. A school that won't let agriculture be secondary, even at the primary level. And commodity market analysis with John Roach. Next.
What's next doesn't happen by chance. It happens when researchers and farmers work together to solve tomorrow's agronomic challenges. We're committed to creating what's next. Because at Pioneer, our name is our mission.
Family owned and operated for more than 60 years, Sukup Manufacturing is a full-service provider of grain handling, storage, and drying equipment, helping farmers feed and fuel the world.
Tomorrow. For over 100 years, we've worked to help our customers be ready for tomorrow. Trust in tomorrow. Information is available from a Grinnell Mutual agent today.
This is the Friday, August 22 edition of Market to Market, the weekly journal of rural America.
Hello, I'm Paul Yeager. A trip to the Wyoming mountains left little leisure for the Federal Reserve and their annual retreat to Jackson Hole. President Trump has been putting pressure on this group to lower the key lending rate banks use with one another. During a speech Friday, Fed Chair Jerome Powell left little doubt, there's a lot of doubt, on a possible rate cut. Higher mortgage rates have been factors for potential buyers of existing homes. This market ticked higher by 2% in July. The rural Main Street Index fell below growth neutral for the sixth time this year to a reading of 48.1. Weaker commodity prices were cited in the Creighton University-based survey that also revealed 1 in 5 farmers expect to face negative cash flow for the year. Policy news came in a couple of forms this week. One could impact pork producers, while another is a broader scope of items traded to Europe. David Miller has our policy wrap-up.
This week, the threat of 30% tariffs were pushed to the side as the European Union and the United States agreed to a trade deal framework. According to a statement from the White House, the EU will work to eliminate tariffs on a long list of U.S. industrial goods and give preferential market access to a wide range of U.S. seafood and agricultural products. On the EU's list of items receiving preferential treatment are dairy, soybean oil, and pork. In return, the U.S. will apply a tariff rate of 15% on more than 2/3 of the products imported from the EU. When all the details are hammered out, the deal will apply lower import taxes on both sides of the Atlantic and keep $2 trillion in annual trade flowing between the two economies. Dwayne Statler, president of the National Pork Producers Council, thanked the administration for including pork in the deal. The NPPC is, however, pushing back on the administration's Make America Healthy Again policy that identifies sausage as an ultra-processed food.
There's no clarification on it. I mean, that's a real problem if it is, because then that takes out, not only does that take out just, plain sausage, but that takes out, then you're talking, the hot dogs, bratwurst, go right on down the line. And that will be a problem for us if that is all considered an ultra-processed.
In a letter to the MAHA Commission, the council says preservation of what they call a versatile and affordable protein by curing, smoking, or salting often gets pork products misclassified as ultra-processed foods. The NPPC says the methods are generally recognized as safe. The administration is putting some support behind beginning farmers and ranchers by making crop insurance more affordable over a 10-year period. As part of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, beginning farmers and ranchers can get a boost to subsidy rates for crop insurance of an additional 15 percentage points. The upgrade lasts for 2 years, and then the rate declines to 10 percentage points for years 5 through 10. For Market to Market, I'm David Miller.
Back to school pictures will be on full display come Monday as many educational institutions open the doors for fall classes. Just like the work never stops on the farm, the learning continues from the first bell of the school day to the last click of the gate when all the chores are done at home. For one school's vocational agriculture class, connections to the land are the key to opening the door to our world, as Colleen Bradford-Krantz reports in our cover story.
Instead of heading to a sports field or music room after school, many students at Academy at the Farm near Dade City, Florida, spend their afternoons caring for nearly 100 farm animals. The pre-K through 8th grade public charter school integrates agriculture into its science curriculum from an unusually early age. Elementary students participate in monthly lessons, and there's an option for daily agriculture classes starting in 6th grade.
A lot of kids automatically have the idea that agriculture is just playing with animals all day or feeding animals or having pets or something like that. And we want them to expand their horizons and have the knowledge that agriculture is actually giving us life. So it's providing us with food, it's providing us with resources and commodities that we need. And our goal is that by the time they leave our school, they go into the world as more informed consumers so that they are able to then inform other consumers.
Opened 23 years ago, officials say the school was already performing well academically before expanding its agricultural focus a decade ago. As of 2024, it had again earned Florida's A school designation, landing in the top 12% of the state's public schools. The school, located 40 miles northeast of Tampa, has 825 students and a waiting list of over 3,000. With that kind of interest, Academy at the Farm has decided to open a high school.
When I came here 10 years ago, academics and high expectations were the things that were drawing kids. Today, there are people that absolutely want to come to our school because of our agriculture program.
Newly retired school director Ray Polk, who was raised nearby on what was then a 6,000-acre cattle ranch, laments the decline of local agriculture as urban sprawl replaces livestock and citrus groves.
Tampa's moving our way, and it's coming 4,000 homes at a time. I felt like kids needed to know where their food comes from. Less and less kids are educated with that. And I found that kids thought that, their hamburger came from McDonald's.
Polk says they have always had high expectations related to behavior, and the agricultural component has played directly into that.
It's an interesting phenomena to me when you can take kids that are struggling or having trouble, and you can take them over to the barn for 15 minutes and it can change their whole day. You can go hand them a baby goat and their life changes. It's almost like magic.
The after-school agriculture program is self-sustaining through fundraising and agricultural product sales. Despite the focus on agriculture, the school still prioritizes core academics.
The state doesn't test whether the kids know how a pig has piglets. What they test on is their math, reading, and writing.
Polk credits the agriculture program's success to the wife and husband teaching team of Robin and Tim Carter.
Drinking this fancy juice, you have to do it with your pinky up, okay?
Robin, who previously taught in one of the grade school classrooms, developed the curriculum after building a highly successful after-school 4-H club, while Tim, a former PE teacher, now manages the barns.
I integrate a lot of the Florida science standards into the elementary agriculture lessons that I do. So that's how I try to support the elementary school teachers. I talk a lot about what it means to be a scientist. I talk a lot about what it means to research something and not just believe everything you hear, but to actually go to a good source to get your information from.
Students also have the option to care for animals on the school grounds, many of them preparing to show at fairs, events which boost parental interest and community support.
They see how our kids work together at the county and state fair, and they love the camaraderie and teamwork they show to each other.
Agriculture is also used as a way to teach resilience, as the school allows the students to directly face hardships when they arise.
In education, sometimes the expectations is everything is done perfect all the time. And in agriculture, that's not how life goes. You could have a project or a crop or an animal that suddenly passes away or suddenly dies, or there's a hurricane or something happens, and you have to be able to roll with the punches.
Families whose children want to show market animals through 4-H or FFA typically buy their animals and cover most costs associated with raising them on site. Other students can be assigned to care for a non-market animal, such as a dairy cow or a hen, for a year. Grants and donations have enabled the Academy to expand the outdoor facilities.
After school, if you have an animal here, it's got to be fed, it's got to be taken care of, and on the weekends. They're responsible for feeding and any changes, and we work on showmanship practice and get ready for fairs and shows. Most of the kids that we get, we're very lucky. They don't grumble about the work at all. And these projects are also family projects. You know, a 10-year-old can't drive themselves here on a Saturday to feed their animal.
17-year-old Christiana Williams, a former student, still keeps pigs on site and helps younger children with their livestock projects.
So the really nice thing about this is everything is hands-on. When I first started, I told the carters that I would never ever give a vaccination to a pig. It freaked me out. I didn't like needles. I didn't like anything like that. Flash forward a couple months later, I was giving almost all of the injections at the barn.
11-year-old Connor Groover sees the program as life preparation.
Having to stay responsible to feed them and like being responsible with my money, having to pay for their foods and their all their equipment stuff.
We need to create students who are feeling confident at an early age to be outside, getting their hands dirty, being hands-on. If I can get a kid to pick up a drill at home instead of a cell phone at home, that makes me really, really happy. And middle school kids are at an age where I feel like they're not given a lot of trust. So when you give them that trust, they just shine.
For Market to Market, I'm Colleen Bradford Krantz.
Next, the Market to Market Report.
A crop tour of major growing areas gave the pros a chance to shed some light on how close their counts are to USDA yield estimates for the week. The nearby wheat contract fell 2 cents and the September corn contract added a nickel. Some movement over refinery waivers boosted soy oil, which in turn helped the whole complex. The September soybean contract improved 14 cents, while September meal gained $13.30 per ton. December cotton expanded by 47 cents per hundredweight. Over in the dairy parlor, September Class 3 milk futures declined 15 cents. The livestock market was higher. October cattle added $7.23. September feeders put on $15.33. And the October lean hog contract widened by $1.10. In the currency markets, the U.S. dollar index dropped by 24 ticks. October crude oil strengthened by $1.56 per barrel. COMEX gold added $37.60 per ounce. And the Goldman Sachs Commodity Index was up by almost 11 points to settle at 544.85. Joining us now, our senior market analyst, John Roach. Hi, John.
Hi, Paul.
I wish this wheat story would change, but it hasn't. Still ample supplies, still not a world picture. However, we had a little movement this week with this Russia and Ukraine story of what is going to come out of these negotiations. How big of an impact is that on wheat right now in your eyes?
Well, I think it's partly the reason that wheat prices are as cheap as they are. I think concern about those supplies becoming more readily available to the world market has pushed our price level down.
Do you get the sense that that is the biggest factor?
No, the biggest factor is we have big production around the world. I mean, the supplies are big. But we've had some restriction to the availability of those supplies because of the restrictions that countries have put in buying Russian wheat, and because of the restrictions Ukraine's had been moving that, and they're moving their wheat. And if there's a settlement in that area, then the Black Sea region, presumably, this is what the market's thinking, the Black Sea region supplies will become more available to the world, and that's pushed prices down.
And are we stuck in this lower price range for a while?
Well, we might be. I mean, certainly you have to eat your way through these kind of supplies, and so it's going to depend really on what kind of crops come out forward. But the market, we have an expression in the market, it's called buy the rumor, sell the fact. And so the rumor is things are going to get settled between Russia and Ukraine. The fact is, once that happens, then that negative has cast all the pressure on the market that it can, and emotionally the market can then maybe recover. If you remember, if you go back to 22, when the Russians invaded Ukraine, we peaked the market on the second week of March, when we thought that we're not going to be able to get any of those supplies. That was the peak of the market. And prices have slid from that peak. So it would be maybe just serendipity that we would make the bottom when peace comes to the region. We're praying for that.
Is it rumor or fact that there's a big corn crop out there?
Well, at the moment, it's a fact, but the rumor has it maybe not as big as we thought. There's been quite a bit of surprise here over the recent days, and the USDA came out with a very big corn yield that surprised everybody. And then the Pro Farmer Tour this week said, well, wait a minute here. We've got some areas out here that once you get in the field and you look at it, it's not quite as good as we thought it was going to be. And so we're going to find out what the answer is. The USDA will come out with their in-field surveys starting here just in days, and then we'll get those counts on the WASDE report that comes out in the second week of September.
Penny last week, nickel this week of improvement in corn, old crop specifically. Does that give you hope that maybe that bottom is in?
Well, the bottom was put in with everybody seeing very good weather, very good crop development, good crop ratings, and an estimate by StoneX that was a bigger estimate than people expected. And then the USDA followed that with even a bigger estimate. At the same time, we had commodity funds that had built a relatively large net short position. So you had farmers that were liquidating inventory out of the bin so they could harvest the new crop. So you really had all of those negative factors coming together at the same time that the user saw very little reason to step out and buy anything because the crop looked big. I'll wait for harvest, I'll buy hand to mouth. And suddenly the market quit going down on bearish news. And then the market started to recover, and then today we pushed up above the 20-day moving average, yesterday actually, above the 20-day moving average, and that says the prices are above the average for the past 20 days. That's a trend change. And so a lot of commodity funds will take a look at these large net short positions, and we may well see, as we saw in soybeans, the commodity funds want to come in and cover shorts. Meanwhile, if you look at the daily sales reports, our corn sales have picked up. The export sales have picked up over this last week or so. After being very slow, it's actually coming together pretty good. And if you look at the total export corn sales, they've been rising rapidly, and that graph this morning shows that we're not very far behind our best year ever on total sales to date. So suddenly the demand maybe is a little better than we thought. At the same time, well, maybe the production's a little smaller than we thought just a week ago, and the prices quit going down, and now they're trending. So there's reason for this market to bounce up in here, and we think we'll get a sell signal this next week. And we think what's important is that farmers need to be mentally prepared to dribble some sales into this stronger market, because it's not going to run away from them. We're just hoping to get enough of a bounce here that we can put a little more money in the bank.
You said it, because I was looking at my John Roach translator, and it sounded like you were starting to say, yes, maybe there's a sell signal coming on corn. You did have a sell signal on beans this week.
We still do.
And how much longer can that signal go?
Well, today was the 7th day. And if you look back in the last 12 months, we had a 9-day sell signal and an 11-day. And so we're 7 days into it. And we're just ahead of harvest. We are at an important development stage here on soybeans. I mean, bean yields are determined in the month of August, and we've got a little bit of weather concern, and we've got the funds short. So we can hopefully move the market a little bit further. But I want to caution producers. You need to be selling into this soybean sell signal. If you're going to need to sell in the next 30 days, you need to be selling into this sell signal. If you're going to need to generate cash flow in the next 60 to 90 days, you need to be selling into the sell signal. And you need to be looking forward to 2026. We've been spending the last 2 weeks doing marketing plans for farmers, and we've we've been really happy with the response that we've gotten from our customers. About a third of the people that we call are putting together a marketing plan, and a lot of people have never done that before. And we really advise that you get a plan put together. For the most part, you're not going to like prices this upcoming year. We expect the market to have some weather peaks when the South American weather is important. That's December, January. You better have a plan put together. And you need to have some kind of a system you're following so you're able to recognize a market peak, understand that's a sell signal, and you need to have a plan put together. How many bushels am I going to sell on this next sell signal?
Well, there's sell signals for one or the other. And Ronald in Iowa wants to know, John, and this was a very popular question this week. Farmers that need cash flow this fall, are you advising them to sell corn or beans?
I'd be selling beans because I've got beans up giving me a sell signal, and I don't have corn giving me one yet. Corn's up a little bit from its bottom, but it's got a really hard row to plow here to move forward very far, whereas beans have already had a pretty good move. And I'll go one step further on beans. If you're not paying attention to 2026 beans, if you're only thinking 30, 60 days, you're short-sighted. Because we've got big production out here, and we're going to have probably the same problem next year as we have this year. And so we've got not only a sell signal on the beans that are in the bin, the field, we also have a sell signal on the beans that you're going to raise next year. And you need a plan to get those beans sold.
And this is the crop that nobody really wanted to talk about as a positive going into 2025. And here it is. Sounds like the darling for you right now.
It is, and I hope that that these are the sales that you look back on and say, ah, darn it, I wish I wouldn't have made that sale. But every sale that you make where the price goes higher, it's always too many bushels. So don't be out selling a ton of stuff, but you have to do business when it's time to do business. And you have to have a plan, and you have to have a methodology that'll get you to make a sale. Because if you're not already paying attention to the 26 crop, you're doing exactly what you did last year, and you don't like how that turned out. So you got to change your methodology, and our methodology had people selling when they should be selling last year, and we think you have to pay attention and do it again this year.
Are you selling any live cattle right now?
Well, any cattle that are ready need to go because this is a hot market. I mean, we have prices that we know we can't maintain once it starts to break. Cattle on Feed report showed we had a few more placements than what were anticipated. The numbers were pretty much on target for on feed.
On feed at 98, placed in July 94, fed cattle marketed 94, other disappearance 91. Which number stood out to you then, John?
The placement number was bigger than expected. They were expecting about 91, and it came in at 94. So we put a few more cattle on feed. Few more people are willing to take a chance. They're putting cattle in at the highest break-even prices maybe they've ever seen. And so you have to be very careful, make sure you've got some risk management in place on those cattle. But this is a kind of a market that it gets up here into kind of rarefied air, and something comes along and suddenly it disappears and it costs people a lot of money. So you have to be very, very careful at these kind of price levels and market cattle as they're ready to go.
But I look at that feeder, 4% on an already large market of almost $15. Yeah, $15. It's crazy how this has been. At this point, though, what takes the air out of it?
Don't know. You don't know. I mean, it's one of those kind of situations that you can look at all different kinds of possibilities, but it's just been my experience in the business over these years that when you get a market that's exploded the way this one has, you just have to expect something to come along.
In the hog market, that has been... there's a little bit of a concern for a couple of their products with the new administration and what they might do. Does that give you any pause for concern expanding a hog herd right now?
Well, the good news is that when we're negotiating, or when the administration is negotiating with other countries, the product that we have that we're typically able to get some traction on are our agricultural products. And our pork products are high quality products, and as long as the government overseas doesn't restrict them from coming in, we're darn competitive in that industry. And so I think the good news here is that the hog demand or pork demand will prove to be stronger this upcoming year than what we we currently see.
And do you think that's partly because of higher beef?
I think certainly it is. Worldwide beef prices are very high and compared to pork prices.
All right. John, good to see you. I appreciate your time. We're going to see you this weekend for a good event. 1977 was your first appearance on Market to Market. We'll talk about that a little bit here in Market Plus. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Paul. Great to be back.
All right, John Roach, everyone, and you have been watching the analysis segment. And in a moment, we will continue our discussion in an online-only segment. Search Market Plus with John Roach wherever you get your podcasts to hear that conversation, or go to our website of markettomarket.org. We will have some images and stories from our 50th season celebration Sunday in our next Market Insider newsletter. Sign up at our website of markettomarket.org to be in that exclusive club. Next week, 3 big challenges facing the pork industry. We'll have that story when you join us next time. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week.
Market to Market is a production of Iowa PBS, which is solely responsible for its content.
What's next doesn't happen by chance. It happens when researchers and farmers work together to solve tomorrow's agronomic challenges. We're committed to creating what's next, because at Pioneer, our name is our mission.
Family owned and operated for more than 60 years, Sukup Manufacturing is a full-service provider of grain handling, storage, and drying equipment, helping farmers feed and fuel the world.
Tomorrow. For over 100 years, we've worked to help our customers be ready for tomorrow. Trust in tomorrow. Information is available from a Grinnell Mutual agent today.